In my last video, I asked the question, if an apple a day really kept the doctor away, how many of us would be sure to get our daily apple? I went on to say that most of us would not. We would not get our daily apple, and I used some examples of how we often do things that we know we shouldn't, and we don't do things that we know we should. And I use these examples to support my opinion. But in this video today, I'm going to begin to answer the more important question as to why that is. But first, I'm going to tell you what is not the reason. Now, for some of you, this is going to be difficult to listen to, but please hear me out. Don't be afraid to listen to something new today. It is not because we are sinful or somehow inherently flawed. That is a cop-out. Whenever we blame our choices and the conditions of our life on a sinful nature or on human nature, we are completely eliminating our responsibility for the choices that we make. And we are in control of those choices. Now, I am not criticizing your religion, but I am going to challenge the way that you apply the principles of your faith in your life. I want you to think about it this way. And believe me, I'm not preaching to anybody. But most of you, I'm sure, would agree that God is perfect in every way and that we are all made in God's image. Well, that belief and the belief that we are somehow inherently flawed and sinful at birth are not compatible. I don't believe that we can have this perfect creator and at the same time be such an imperfect creation. Now, I'm not saying that any of us are perfect. We are far from that. But we have been given everything that we need to live a life of joy and abundance. So don't cop out with the excuse that your bad choices are because of some type of sinful nature or inherent flaw. You have to take responsibility for your choices and the conditions and outcomes of your life. And until you do that, nothing is going to change. Now, I hope you're still with me, because now I want to talk about why. Why is it that we do the things that we know that we shouldn't, and we don't do the things many times that we know that we should? And the first reason that I want to talk about is pride. In order to admit that the choices that we're making are wrong, we are forced to swallow our pride. And for a lot of us, that is not an easy thing to do. I mean, how many of you like to be wrong? How many of you like to be proven wrong or admit when you're wrong? It's very difficult sometimes, and for that very reason, pride will destroy your life and it will destroy your relationships. There are probably people that are listening to this video right now who have relationships that are suffering or have even ended because of pride. Too prideful to apologize, to say you're sorry, too prideful to admit that you're wrong. You are the other person, and if this does not apply to you, I'm certain that you know someone like this. These are the kind of people that will stand in a thunderstorm and swear up and down that they're not getting wet. When it comes to these types of things, you have to ask yourself the question, do I want relationship or do I want to be right? Am I interested in seeking the truth, or is my goal simply to stick to my guns and insist that I'm right no matter how it affects my life? Just think about what you truly want for your life and make decisions on a consistent basis that are going to empower you to achieve those outcomes. Pride will also convince you that you will be the exception to the rule. In my last video, I stated the fact that over 480,000 people every single year die because of cigarette smokes. But pride will cause you to say, that ain't gonna happen to me. I've heard it numerous times. I'm talking to people about things that they know they need to change, but they won't. And they'll give examples like, well, my grandma smoked and drank whiskey her whole life and she lived to be 100 years old. And I know that that happens. People like that are called outliers. It's similar to the average height of a man is between 5'8" and 6 feet tall. But there are still 7-footers walking around, aren't there? They exist, but they are the exception to the rule. They are not the norm. And I would rather make decisions for my life that are going to stack the cards in my favor and not have to depend on being an exception to the rule. I don't know about you, but that's what I'm choosing for me. The next reason that I'm going to give that we do things we know we shouldn't and we don't do things that we know we should is because of learned behavior. Many of our habits, whether good or bad, are inherited from the primary influences in our lives. It's monkey see, monkey do. And as I said before, I smoked for over 10 years. And guess what? So did my father. So did many of the primary influences in my life as I was growing up. And there are so many other things that are like this as well. Addiction in general falls into this category, and I'll talk about that further because it's part of the examples that I used as to why I'm certain that most of us wouldn't get an apple a day if that's all it took to be healthy. If you are the child of an alcoholic parent, you are 4 times as likely to be an alcoholic yourself. If both of your parents are alcoholics, you are 8 times as likely than the average person to be an alcoholic yourself. But here's the thing. As long as you are able to be honest with yourself, to keep yourself in check if you do decide to try to drink, you will not become an alcoholic. Another example that I use was health and nutrition. Just compare the way that you eat to the way that your kids eat. I know that it's really cute to have a little mini-me that likes the things that you like and doesn't like the things that you don't like. But whenever the things that they are mimicking are causing them harm, and will continue to cause them harm throughout their life until they make different choices, it isn't so cute, is it? Just think about it. What behaviors do you display in your life today that you learned from your primary influences? How many of those things are serving you? How many of them are not? Think about the things that you are teaching the ones who are watching you. How many of those things will serve them in their life, and how many of them will not? What kind of life do you want to have? What kind of example do you want to be? And in order to hit the mark, sometimes you're going to have to swallow your pride. Examine your attitudes, behaviors, and choices, and figure out what is serving you and helping you be an example to those that you love, and what is not. Strengthen what is working and eliminate what is not. And I know that you can do it. You have everything that you need to succeed. Now, in my next video, I'm going to continue the discussion of why we do the things that we know that we shouldn't, and we don't do the things that we know that we should. So please take a moment and subscribe to my channel, and meet me here next week for an apple a day, part 3. Now please take what you need and leave the rest.